All right, you're about to aquascape your tank.
Oh boy.
You want to get it right the first time. You need to stack it all up, make sure it's secure. And you may have thought you knew what you're going to use, but there's actually the right tool for the right job. This is the Aquascaping Adhesives Buyer's Guide. We're going to get that right tool for the right job the first time. All right, spoiler alert. You might have noticed there's no epoxy up here.
Yeah, I mean, that's surprising because you would think that epoxy is the right tool for this job, but we don't use it. It doesn't stick very well. It kind of falls apart in the tank after a while. It takes forever to dry if you're doing it outside the tank, and just not the right tool for the job that the way that we aquascape, and we don't recommend it.
I'll be frank. I think it's ugly. So
colors don't match.
Most of those two-part epoxies don't match the color. It sticks out forever. And it doesn't secure well. It's crumbly. I just don't think there's any reason to use two-part epoxy. And this might sound like blasphemy because that's like all the stuff I used in the beginning. I just had way better luck using other stuff. So what is the right tool for the right job? And normally we'd share, like, spoiler alert here, our favorite one, but we don't have one.
There's no right answer here, but we do have some categories of ways that you are aquascaping and what we consider to be the right tools for that job based off of all of the aquascapes that we've done. So we're going to get right into them.
Yeah, that's why we don't have a favorite actually for any one thing, because there's different needs and we're going to solve them the best we can. All right, number one, probably because it's the most popular. It's the most popular rock out there, so it's probably the number one aquascape as well. What would you use to stack and secure Marco rock together?
Yeah, so Marco rock stacks really well together on its own. It really holds together very well. So really all you need to do is come by with some super glue and secure some of the points, call it a day.
Yeah, so especially if you're doing outside or the tank is dry, you can just gob this stuff on, kind of use like a popsicle stick or something like that to kind of smush it into the areas. Really what you just want to do is kind of create a like a mold around both areas, and it will securely hold it together. And so, this 10-ounce bottle of BRS Super Gel Extra Thick is actually the cheapest, easiest way to do that. And so this would be for Marco rocks. There's a vast majority of people out there. It's clear. It's really easy to hide. You probably won't see it at all. And then, you know what? If you want it really fast, also some accelerator. Spray this on, the glue is dried immediately.
It's been a game changer for a lot of our aquascapes recently. But yeah, I can smush it all in, set it, and now I can pick this thing up and carry it around.
Yeah, you'd be really surprised with a healthy amount of glue and some accelerator, like how well it actually holds, like even some impossible looking aquascapes where it's supporting a lot of weight. If you use enough glue in the accelerator, you can actually get it to hold that within like a minute, There's nothing else out there. And then it allows you to keep working on the aquascape and make it bigger without waiting for all those pieces to dry. All right, so if for some reason you're stacking wet, meaning underwater, if you're using Marco rock, I would just say you probably should have done it before you put water. It should be a lot easier. But if for whatever reason you're stacking underwater, this is no longer the best option.
Yeah, so in that case, go to a tube, so like this BRS extra thick glue tube. Same glue as the big giant one, but there's one good benefit here, and I think I learned it from you, is I didn't even know I could glue underwater, but when I did find out I can glue underwater, I don't want to use something that's gonna suck water back into itself, which the bottle will do. The glue, you just roll it out and it continually pushes out no water.
Yeah, so it's impossible to have even pressure on this and underwater and not allow it to suck some water in and ruin the whole bottle. In this case, you don't have that back pressure. And using underwater, often, you can squirt it out and it creates kind of like a film on it, next little ball. You can kind of actually just push it like putty right into the areas that you want. So this is a lot easier to get into areas than this is underwater as well. So yeah, these 20-gram tubes, probably the best option for gluing stacked rock underwater. All right, so what if I'm gonna do the impossible looking, stacking that way? I'm gonna have a big jut that comes out and like cantilevered off of one little area. It's only held here, but it grows out. What am I gonna use then? Because it needs to support weight, not just today, but for years to come.
Yeah, in this case, Mortar. So the heavy duty mortar stuff, and then you're basically cementing these rocks permanently together, mixing up some mortar. I've actually used the purple stuff before too, and I was using it with Real Reef, and the color match is really close and works really well. I mean, I was supporting branches on other rocks and doing it kind of that way, but mortar is the way to go to support some weight.
That's interesting. I've never used the purple one here, so that's interesting to note that it actually matches the Real Reef stuff.
Pretty close.
So for me, I use it a lot on Marco rock, especially when I'm doing the NSA stuff and I'm trying to create those impossible looks. For me, this was the biggest oversight of all of my aquascaping. Like, I know a lot of people have never considered using mortar to do this. And once you do, you'll never go back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So what happens is you create that area where the two pieces interlock, and then mix up a little bit of mortar, and then just push it in. And not only will it bond, but it really creates this really strong structural bond that fits in all the nooks and crannies and will hold really, really well. What also it does is creates like a transition between the two pieces. So you can't tell that one piece is really another one. And then if you want to hide it, in this case, the best way to do it is actually just take some liquidy glue, like really, really thin super glue, put it on there, and then just throw some sand on it. And the sand will actually make it the same color as the rock. Hot tip here also, you may not even need to buy sand, because if you're doing an NSA or really anything, just use your hammer to break up the rock. It will create sand for you, and you can use that as well. So yeah, I don't know. If you're gonna support weight, you could do it with super glue, but the mortar's such a better option. Hide the transition. You'll be way happier to do it. If you haven't tried it before, you should absolutely try it, because you'll be happy. All right, so if you're doing an NSA, you're going to use a lot of bonding, and all of them actually.
Yeah, use everything here on the table, but bulk is what matters here, because you're breaking up all these giant boulders, which means I have a lot more small pieces to glue and put together, and then I want to make it go out this way and then up this way, and you're just going to go through a lot of glue, a lot of accelerant, and then structurally, not only make it structurally more sound with the mortar, but seamless as well.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually a good example of you're using an enormous amount of glue, and how well you can hide super glue better than epoxy is the NSA, because you could actually, in many cases, probably not even use the mortar with just the glue here. And you get the more weight, the more important it becomes. But you can see how much glue you use, and like, man, I really can't see it. It's pretty cool, especially if you just kind of put like little bits of rubble over the parts that you can see and glue those in just to hide it. But here is the piece that you just said is buy more than you think you need. In most cases, you're going to need 2 of these things at least, and however many accelerators you buy. It's like one of those rules of every plumbing job takes 3 trips to the store. This is one of them. You're going to buy 4. You're going to find out you needed 6. You're just spraying a lot of this stuff on there, trying to make sure that it goes fast and is really securely held. Hot tip here, it might be a little bit more expensive, but on the side here, it's like bsiinc.com, Instaset. You'll see this at a hobby store. It might cost a couple more bucks more, but if you're in the middle of the project, don't wait for us to ship it to you. Just go down to your radio control store or hobby store, and you probably can pick some of this stuff up and get it done that weekend as well. But right after you get all that on there, it's mortar time. So it's holding generally, but if you bumped it or hit it really hard, who knows what would happen. We're gonna take all those joints and put that mortar in there, then smush it around, make it so that it hides well inside the cracks and makes a nice new, smooth transition, and then cover it in that sand and thin super glue, boom. One cohesive looking aquascape that used almost everything on the table here, and probably a lot of it. So one of these methods certainly spoke to you, but there are some other tips that matter as well.
Yeah. First one for me is, as somebody who used a rod and drilling rock before, I just won't do it anymore, or very often. I've done it before, and it was easy because I had the Pucani rock, which was easier to drill. But you start getting into some of that harder rock, like Marco rock, and you're trying to drill a hole through it and then find a rod to get in there, put it just right so it's supporting. That means you have to make sure that they're drilled in just the right place. It's mortar.
The only time I've ever done the rod method was actually on the BRS 160, and it's only in one place. And if I had done the mortar before, I would have actually done that, because It's actually really hard because you're going to have to get all those pieces in the exact order that you want them. Have somebody hold and then take a drill bit and make sure it goes down that exact path through all pieces. And it never happens that way. And so now that perfect piece you had ends up being really wonky. And it's totally unnecessary. There's no reason to have to use a rod in a world of mortar and super glue, to be honest. So I don't know. I mean, when I say no, there's always an oddball reason out there. So if you have one, go ahead and use it. But you know, people talk about the pin method, and I don't think very many people use it. I actually asked customer service in our training session the other day if anybody there used it. And only one person, and he said he doesn't use it anymore. So we're kind of off of it. So I don't know. Despite what people say, the rod method kind of ancient. This is another question we get a lot: is can I just use other cement, or do I have to use this like Marco mortar? And the answer is I don't really know, other than the fact that I tried to use cement for frag plugs at my own house, and I cured them for months in water that was changed out every day. And then when I tore that system down, every pipe was filled with cement. So I don't know. I mean, I selected the wrong one. I don't know. I don't want to find out ever again, so I'm not going to do it that way. This mortar is actually interesting because the mortar that Marco is using is a aquatic mortars designed to cure underwater. They also put some kind of liquid resin in there rather than water, which gives it just like a little bit of bend so it's not as brittle. I don't know. I don't see any major savings. This is going to last like for a whole aquascape. Who wants another big old bag of cement sitting around their house anyway? So for a few bucks or more, peace of mind in knowing I'm using the right tool for the right job is worth it. We hit this a little bit earlier, but we're going to really bring it home.
Yeah, so 20-gram tubes. Now, if you're dry stacking rock, we already mentioned it for wet stacking, but hard to reach places. You know, I might be able to get this tube in somewhere and make it more structurally sound than the big giant bottle here, and a little bit more expensive, but you know, pick up a couple of these with your big giant tube.
Yeah, in fact, I often do pick up a bunch of these instead of these, just because when I'm done with it, the rest of them I have left over will actually stay for a long time. I'll use them for eggs or something else. This kind of has a limited timeline. After you opened it up, how many times you can keep using it. It has like another top that you can put on, but you know, this is really designed for big projects. This is for more periodic, and you can get it into other areas. So if you want to find out more about this stuff, you can find it out on the BRS website. But the moral of the story here is we don't use two-part epoxy here at all. We use the super glue because it's really good at creating aquascapes fast, making them secure and well hidden. And this mortar here will make it secure. Yes. And then all of it together with tons and tons and tons of accelerator for an NSA. So check it all out.